welcome to Real Talk, episode 20.
Woo!
20 episodes.
2-0.
That's pretty wild. Am I wrong? That's wild. Anyway.
You know what's funny? This reminds me, though, that you talked about this.
I already knew you were going to say this.
You said we were like, let's do something special for 20.
Yeah, and here it is. You're getting some finger guns.
You know what's? You know what, though? I guess I think we can take 20 and say, listen, you know what's going to be special for episode 20? Is that it's just the 20th episode.
Yeah,
that'll
probably go through. Listen,
the milestone.
What we'll do is at some point, maybe it'll be episode 21.
Yeah.
We'll do something fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're already taking this thing on the road. Isn't that enough?
Yeah. What more do you people want? I'm just kidding. So, this is episode 20. What's Real Talk? Real Talk's an opportunity for us to just interact and have real talk about life, God, the Bible, our church, ourselves, and kind of share with you what we're going through. And then using questions that people have asked anonymously, also talk about what you guys got going on and how all that applies to your life. So at the top of this video, you're going to see a link, www.theremnant.live/real-talk. If you click that link, you'll get a form fillable box. You can ask a question. Hey, we encourage you, keep asking those questions. They come through and we answer them. I know we get to all of them. That's the plan. And if you haven't had your question answered yet, and it's been a while, feel free to repeat it because maybe it didn't.
Maybe
absolutely.
I missed it.
So just shoot it in there again. We actually just had Real Talk kind of spawned out of a couple things. One was our conversations with our friends and us and talking life and wishing other people could be a part of that. The other side of it is a sermon series we do in which the congregation interacts live, shoots questions, and we go. So we got a bunch of new questions that we just had Real Talk at our church. We do it every 6 to 12 weeks. It was 9 weeks this time. I thought it went pretty well.
Me too, man. I think, and like you said, there was a lot of questions asked, so now we kind of have a little bit of a pool again. So
yeah, but keep asking.
Absolutely.
And again, you'll see we've got some, not all of them have to be heavy.
Yeah, we've got some interesting ones
Yeah,
today.
so we'll kind of dive in from there. But we like to start off just by saying, kind of checking in. And so how's your week been going, man?
It's been going pretty decent. I'm very excited for all the things coming up. July is going to be a very busy month for us. Man. And despite it being busy, I'm excited. With excitement comes, a lot of planning and a lot of strategizing, but which can get stressful at times. But once you realize what it's all about, it kind of removes that stress away. Like we're doing all this for the kingdom, man, and that's so amazing. That punches me in the face sometimes. I get so caught up in I get in this weird mindset of this is obviously it's work in a sense, but it's still this is bigger than me, and I forget that sometimes. So I feel really refreshed. I know for me, we had some issues with the mic earlier. We had to replace a cord, but I was like, hey, you know what? I was a little discouraged at first, but we got it fixed, and it's man, it kind of made me step back and be like, listen, there's a bigger picture to all this.
Yeah.
We're doing this for people to know who Jesus is. So I'm feeling really encouraged.
That's a really good reminder, actually.
Yeah.
Because I've been you just convicted me, so thanks a lot. Yeah, that's good, man. Because you can get caught up in the day-to-day things. So,
exactly.
For instance, one of the things we joke about with Real Talk is there's a lot that goes into it, and we still, you think you have the process down to where it's pretty smooth, and then you find out that you don't because a cord goes bad.
Exactly.
Randomly. Nothing changes. So that can get frustrating, those
Absolutely.
little things, but specifically the little things. So, excuse me, that's a good perspective to have because I can get caught up in that too.
Exactly. I mean, and for me, I guess that's kind of been my week. I know I've had a couple other times throughout the week, we have softball practice where I've been able to take a step back and just look and go, man, this isn't normal what's happening. And that's the truth, man. I was talking to somebody else about this the other day. It is wild to me that we just there's this group of us, that, are members here. And it's so crazy how consistent we are with being together. I don't think I've seen a group that big be that consistent with seeing each other throughout the week, every day, whatever.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, dude. I forget. It's it's almost become normal, but when I look at it from the outside, I'm that is not normal. I feel like you don't see that. So just really special, man. I forget how special this place is. What God's done with us. It's crazy.
Sometimes I get caught up in it is different, and so I'm going to give you how my mind can make this negative sometimes. Sometimes I literally go, is this weird? Is this weird that we do that? Like, there's something wrong. But then I start thinking, if you look at Scripture, community, the way that they lived, and I'm not saying that, see, even now I'm making an excuse for it, but it's not that wild. People just want to spend time together, and I know a lot of times people that are outside the situation, they think that the church is forcing that, like they're forcing people, but that isn't happening. Like, for instance, tonight there's this sand volleyball they play every Tuesday. The church has nothing to do with that. That's just a group of people that happen to go to the church who said, hey, we want to play volleyball together. And like 20 people show up.
That's crazy.
That has nothing to do with us. But in their minds, sometimes from the outside, the negativity that you hear is like, why this church makes you forget your friends and family. Like, no, they just happen to be friends with each other.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool though, is I feel like that's such a cool example of like, church isn't just inside this building. Church is outside, and like I feel like we do such a good job of just like we show that example, because like you said, even though it has nothing to do with church, like here in this building, we're still having church in a sense, because like we're together living life, and like it's so cool, man.
Well, and if each of us are living stones, then anytime you come together, you build the temple, right? Like you are the church. So the church is out there on the volleyball court.
Cool, man.
So. That's good. That's good stuff to keep in mind.
What about you, man? How's your week though?
Man, I texted you last night about this, where I had I heard a song. Anyone that knows me well will know that I hate sad music. And people will be like, no, Todd, you don't hate sad music. You literally hate anything that sounds sad, which is true, because I don't even care what the words say. I'm like, it's a sad tune. But I heard a song, and then I started reminiscing.
Yeah.
And it's weird, man. Like, it's not necessarily, I haven't even got to process this with you at all. So this is happening live. Cool. Where I'm at is kind of like, I am a guy who is constantly aware of where I came from, which can be good. But it also makes me feel really sad about the things that I did wrong. I'm not even talking sin. Like, just, how like a lot of in life you have these different choices.
Yes.
And we talk about this, God's on either side. And I know that the choices I made that led me here were still good. But sometimes I look back and go, what would God have done if I'd have went down that path? So
what if?
Yeah, I wonder. If I go through, that's even relationships. And it's not even that you necessarily want that back, but it's the sadness of like, see, I'm about to get emotional. It's just times in life is so short. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, a couple months ago. I don't know if it was on here or just ourselves, where you don't appreciate the moment that you're in until it's past. You know what I mean? And like, my fear is like, I'm going to be looking back on this and going, man, why can't I have that again? And I don't think that's healthy that I do that. Because I've heard a quote that I thought was pretty powerful. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. Right? If you're at peace, you're living in the present. So there's some truth to that, I think, and I tend to live in the past. And
me too.
I just do, man. And sometimes it's negative, where I'll go over all my mistakes. And sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's like, what would have happened if I would have done this? They're not even bad things.
Right. Which is weird, though, because I feel like in a way that can almost affect your identity, like who you think you are, Because, like, depending on... For me, like, I have, like... It's an extreme either way. Like, some days I'm extremely in the direction of in the past, and sometimes I'm extremely in the direction of the future. And like you said, I think either way, like the way I do it, it's so unhealthy that it stagnates me, paralyzes me sometimes.
It's good.
So I can relate with you on that, man. It's tough, especially the past. The past is weird.
It is so weird.
Yeah, like I think if I had to, like, if somebody asked me like what is worse, like thinking about the past or the future, I'd definitely say the past, because that's time you can't get back. And
that's it.
That's time you can't get back, whether it was good or bad. It's gone, and it's weird.
And it's strange that memories are so weird, because even though that time's passed, in my own mind, I can put myself right back there.
Me too.
But you can't change it. So it's like I can go relive it.
Yeah.
But everything still happens the same way. So it's some kind of weird movie where it's like you relive it and you're going, maybe I'll do it different. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot. That's a memory. I can't. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how real to be on here, but there's things in my life where I went left and I could have went right, and I don't think either one was bad. And I'm not saying, I think sometimes the people that are close to me can get hurt because they think I don't love where I'm at.
Right.
And that's not what I mean. And if you haven't experienced this, it's probably, if you're not a weirdo like me, it's probably hard for you to understand, but it's not even that I dislike where I'm at, because if I had to trade, and this is where the emotion can come, if God came back and said, Todd, you can go here, but you can't be here. I wouldn't do it. And that's the irony of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's tough. And I think, so where am I at this week? I'm in a place of reminiscing. And I believe it's turning into, okay, so I'm reminiscing, but I had this weird Kairos moment. Kairos moment's a word, I shouldn't have used that word, but it's essentially a word that we use to describe what's a God moment. In the Greek language, there's kind of two words for time, chronos and kairos. Chronos is like the time we know, an hour, minutes. Kairos is those moments in time that freeze. When something happens in your life, so it could be, your wedding day, the birth of your child. It can also be bad things.
That's right.
But they mean something. And I'm in this place of going, all right, Lord, I'll confess this here on the air. I feel like in a lot of ways there are these little things about me that I have let rust because they weren't huge deals. So maybe I've kind of let them slip under the radar unintentionally. I've just been living life, and now I feel like the Holy Spirit's like, hey, it's time. You need to sharpen these areas. You need to get back to where you were, because the irony, man, is my faith before we did this, and my evangelism, because I have an evangelistic heart, but the way I live my life and the conversations I had so much more joy in some ways in my faith than I do now. And I got to wrestle with that. Why is that? And I think I know why, and I don't necessarily need to say it here, but a lot of it has to do with the demographics you're dealing with now. And I've probably become that guy. Sometimes in Christendom, we're so focused on what we're not that we don't appreciate what we are in Christ. And when I wasn't in the church, even though I was a Christian, it was really easy for me to rest in who Jesus said I was, because I didn't have people around me saying, you're not good enough. So I just kept reading his word that said I was, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This probably means nothing to them, but we're being real. So I don't know. I'm kind of in that moment where I'm sort of, and it's not bad. I don't feel sad about it. It's actually kind of one of those things of okay, it's time to, this area of my life needs to be sharpened, and so I'm going to do that.
That's good, man. That's really good.
But what does that mean? I don't know, man. There's just steps I have to take, and because I'm a dreamer, I can be so focused on big things that which is terrible, that something my own life sometimes I just kind of put on the back burner. If that makes sense. My own life stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And that's tough, man, especially based on your position, being, where you're at and, your role, that is hard. I'm sure there's almost even a sense of pressure in your own mind that you do have to put your life on the back burner because you constantly have to try to cater to others.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad, by the way. I'm not saying you shouldn't approach this guy about things.
Yeah, don't.
That's not what we're saying.
No, because people say I'm too busy all the time.
Exactly.
I'm what are you talking
that's
about?
not what it is. It's just that's part of that role. That's part of that, that's life for you right now.
Yeah, and even if people weren't talking to me, so people that may say, oh, I can't come, he's too busy, you understand that wouldn't change how my mind is. I'm still thinking about 100 things. So it's not that I'm, you're right. And I think that's not anyone's fault but my own. And here's where it gets deep. Am I just using it as an excuse because I don't want to deal with my own stuff? Right? That's the part, and I don't know the answer to that. I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think that I'm intentionally avoiding things.
Sure.
But I do put an importance. There's a good and a bad side of it. There probably is a little bit of me trying to me trying to avoid dealing with certain things. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. Hey,
that's
we
really
just got
good,
real
man.
with you.
That was real. That's
real
talk. Dang, man, I don't even know where we go from here.
We'll just dive in. Dive into questions.
That's good. You guys, man, I hope you guys watched that because that was awesome. That was really good.
Well, I forgot we were even filming.
I know, right? Man.
Do you want to start or do you want me to?
I can start.
Okay.
First question we got today is, why do you think marriage is so hard in the world today?
Why do you think marriage is so hard in the world today? I think that we have not prepped for these, so this is off the top of my head. I think there's a few reasons. I think the first thing that just came to my mind is I think we are trying to redefine what marriage is when we don't have the ability to redefine it. So because it's like trying to go outside and saying that a tree is something different, and so we're messing around and we're trying to say trees live by if you chop them down, that makes them grow. And trying to change the laws almost of reality to suit what we want. So like marriage means nothing. What is marriage? I've always said this: without Christ, what's the point of marriage? Why would you ever even get married? Have you ever thought? I mean, seriously,
that's great. I've never thought about it.
If we're gonna say that marriage means nothing, and I think that's whether they want to say it or not, that's what the world's saying. Because if it's something you can just take and throw away, why would you be married? Just to feel safe? Well, okay, be in a committed relationship. So I think that's part of it. I think that so the culture and world is kind of attacking the definition of it. And I'm not even talking about, homosexual marriage. I'm talking about marriage in general. Because when you talk about redefining marriage, people immediately go, yeah, homosexuality. And I think that's part of it, the marriage there. But I think it's bigger than that. I think it's even between, marriage in general. The concept is becoming outdated. How many times do you hear people say, well, marriage is an institution, it's man-made. And it's like, no, you're missing the point. And isn't it interesting that even if it is, we still in our culture have a place for it? Like, it still means something to people, even if they don't know why it means something.
Well, it's weird, and it's interesting that you say that, because I was actually thinking in like a similar direction in that, but it was more like culturally, it's I think people, the reason why it's so hard is because of what people have made it out to be. So people naturally have a tendency to believe what's the word? Dang it. I just had a.
I do this all the time.
Majority.
Yeah.
So they tend to believe in majority. So when you look at divorce rates or whatever and all these things and today's current state of marriage in America or whatever, people are more likely to not get married, or they think it's not a serious thing just because of all these numbers or whatever.
So everybody's like that. So what does it matter?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, well, I'm just gonna I guess I can take a step in my commitment to this person because I just, so I guess that next step is marriage, and it's just a piece of paper that says, hey, we're committed to, for life, so.
But they don't really mean life. They just, what they really mean, this goes back to redefining, is until they don't make me happy anymore.
Exactly.
Which goes back to a misunderstanding of what it is. Marriage is not about making you happy. It isn't. It's not. And if it is, then it's never going to last, right? Or it's going to be very stressful. What it's about is that choice to love and that choice to be committed. And biblically we know what that means. And it's a picture of Christ in the church. If Christ doesn't leave us when we mess up, and he doesn't, then we surely need to take that seriously.
Leave your spouse, right?
For just no reason.
Well, it's funny because when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was I can't speak today, declaration, but I was like, no, man, like that's even deeper than declaration. Like it's a covenant.
Yeah, man.
And a lot of people don't understand what a
covenant is. Yeah, right? Independent of the other person's faithfulness, right? A promise. So, and faithfulness in whatever way to the promise. So I think that's part of the other part. I mean, there's smaller things, sexualization of culture, oversexed, believe it or not, like that's going to affect things. When you can go out, listen, if you're thirsty, this is a terrible analogy, but all you have is the water that you have, you're going to really appreciate that water. But if you go out and you're like, oh, I can have a drink of whatever I want, and no one's going to really care because the world's going to tell me it's okay, makes it a lot harder. And
that's really good.
I just think that overall the idea of marriage is being attacked. And so then you come into the church, and the church is kind of weird. It's almost opposite. So we know what it means something, but even that becomes I don't necessarily know if we've created a culture that enables people to have problems in their marriage so they can work through it, because it's like, well, I can't share that we are having difficulties because then people are going to think we're bad. Or when the truth is, like, if somebody comes up to me and says, man, I'm struggling in my marriage, I love my wife and I don't want to have these problems. Like, to me, that's a beautiful thing because it's showing that commitment. Yeah. You wouldn't care. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
And
long answer
again,
to that,
that's going deeper, and it's a lot deeper than a lot of people tend to think. Again, you know, if people don't believe in what we believe, then they literally don't understand why we do things. So it makes sense why it's in the state it's in. Yeah.
So. I had a conversation with a guy just today, over lunch, and one of the things, I'm not sure where he's at, but he knows of church, and he went to church, and he's dating someone who's in, and he said that it was interesting because out of nowhere he's kind of like, what I was thinking about and talking about with my friends is nobody talks about what the point of dating, like how to date. He just said this, and we had just talked about this a little while ago. It was like, I feel like they just tell you like, hey, don't have sex and then get married, but they don't talk about what's the process of dating. And we've gotten that question in Real Talk before. What does it mean to date? And that goes back to marriage, because if there's no point to dating, if the end goal isn't marriage, then what is the goal?
Exactly right.
And what does that even look like? So even that part has become cloudy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's weird, man.
Good stuff. All right, I have one here. How do you revitalize when everything feels so pointless?
That's so good. Nice word, by the way. Revitalize.
Yeah, that's a great word.
Nice. So this can be hard, because I'm assuming who's asking this question is a believer. I'm just going to take it at that face value if they are a believer.
Yeah, I would agree.
This is awesome that you're asking this, and this is my question, because I've lately I've been in a weird spot of like I've been feeling like low. We've talked about battery life before, like like where's my battery life at? Like it's definitely been definitely not even close to 100, probably 50, 40, whatever. So how do you recharge? Do you really believe in what you're doing? How real is it? Because if it is real, then you are going to read the word. You are going to pray more. You are going to live for others, because when you're living for others, God is looking after you, and that's going to bring a sense of peace. And I wasn't doing that. And it's so crazy how quickly it can turn around, because even like my mind is much more clear. And this is just from a week or whatever of just living it out for real. Like how real is it? Well, I'm going to live it out. And since I've been living it out again, I feel much better. So if you are a believer, it's the disciplines. We talk about this so much, and I think the reason why we have to keep repeating it is because it's real, man.
Yeah.
Like if you're not doing it, you are gonna feel different. You are not gonna be charged up. How much community are you getting? Are you around people who are also believers? Because if you're not, then you're not really getting a recharge in the sense of, if you're just going to a building on Sunday and seeing people and they tell you, hey, you are good enough, and you go, okay, cool, and then you go back out into the world and you get beat down, but then throughout that week you're not with anybody. It's gonna feel exactly.
That's good.
So
I was thinking the same thing. And I feel like people don't like the answer because they want something else. They want a magic answer, which it is kind of magic, right? It's supernatural.
Yeah.
Are you in prayer? Are you, Jesus said, abide in me. I'm the vine. You are the fruit. Or, I'm the vine. You're the branches. Like, we grow off of him. What happens if we snap a branch off the vine, right? What does he say? Well, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Man does not live on bread alone, but by the very word of God. And because we don't think it does anything to us, we talked about this a few weeks ago. So, I think it was a live last week. It's so funny. When I'm really in the word, I'm really Scooby. When I'm really in the word and I'm focused on that, it's crazy because I'll be like, I want more and more in my life. My outlook changes, and I'm like, man, I am not going to forget this. And then a day later, I'm like, I don't do it, and then I don't do it. I was like, you didn't really do anything. And, it's I like what you said at the very beginning where you said, do you really believe this? Because if you're a Christian, you have to accept this simple fact.
Yes.
You are not of this world anymore. You are here. This is not your home. And you require more sustenance than just the bread on your plate. You need more than that to be healthy. And I really feel that. The other thing I would say, and here's some even more tangible advice, is stop being inward focused. It's funny, psychologists, they're Christian psychologists, but let's say secular psychologists, sociologists will even say that for depressed people that are struggling, to go out and serve. Isn't that interesting? That even though they don't know where it's coming from, it's a biblical principle. Stop putting yourself number one necessarily and focus on serving people, loving people. And it's funny because the more you do that, the more alive you feel.
Oh, it's so true, man.
So I think that's another thing to do is look for opportunities to get involved and make an impact.
Well, it's weird, man, because in this makes sense to me that people keep asking a similar question.
Yeah.
It's because it reminds me of the Bible of how God has continually had to answer the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is I feel like people are almost looking for this sort of non cliche answer, but that's the thing is like it's not cliche, it's just truth. That's what you have to do.
People just don't want to do
what they
work.
need to do.
Yeah. They want it when they want
they're
it.
looking for some sort of excuse, and this can be me too. So I'm not pointing fingers. If anything, I'm pointing at myself. They're looking for excuses to not have to change the way they live.
Man, that's so true. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they want their cake and eat it too, kind of deal. Cool.
Let's see. Next question we got. This is a non-serious one. What do you think of meggings, merces, and men's rompers?
First of all, this is a serious one.
This is very
Meggings,
serious.
I assume, are male leggings, right?
Yes, that's what
And
I'm
what was the
assuming.
second? Merce is a man purse.
Man purse, yeah.
And then a men's romper, which I know what those are. They disgust me. I am disgusted by them. I have worn compression pants. That's what I call them.
Yes.
Under my athletic gear in cold weather.
Yeah.
I do not wear decorative meggings or out and about. I don't have anything else to say except I'm disgusted. So if you are a person that wears those, I'm sorry. I'm disgusted. Not with you. not with you. Not with you. That's not my style.
My
man.
vision went away. Oh, I laughed
Passing
so hard
out
I almost
again, huh?
passed out. That was good.
That's good. Anyway, what are your thoughts on them? Please, if you say you're into them, I'm leaving right now.
Listen, meggings is no-go.
Please, AJ, don't say this.
Well, I just said meggings is a
Yeah,
no-go.
but you're setting it up to say one of them's okay.
Merces is debatable because it depends on what a merce is. I think because like what if is there a difference between a merce and a fanny pack? Because I don't know if you've seen the fashion like.
Go on.
I don't know
If you're gonna say fashionable fanny pack, I'm listening.
I've seen people wear them around their waist, which has been a thing. That was like a big
Those are
90s.
fanny packs,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But I've also seen people kind of like drape it over the shoulder, where they click it and it's like chilling here or wherever, and they can like zip it and like put it. I don't know if that's like
What does that look like that's strapped across them?
It's
Is
like
it
a
a
purse.
satchel? Like an Indiana Jones satchel?
I don't think so. 'Cause
Or-
a satchel. Well,
So it's not. So you're talking a tiny little bag that they put across. That's a purse. That's called a purse.
it's a merce then. So people are turning fanny packs into merces essentially, I guess.
Well, okay. Are you at a theme park wearing your fanny pack?
I've seen people just out and about with it.
Okay. So I'm asking you,
Okay.
is the person in a situation where they need their hands free and need to carry a lot of things such as bug spray and sunscreen? I don't have a problem with a fanny pack in a situation. Are we talking day-to-day life? I'm going to Taco Bell and I pull my money out of my merce.
Nah, man, this is purely like fashion. Like I've seen it, like it's a thing.
So we're not talking like a leather.
No, like this is straight
and you're
up-
okay with that? That's what you're telling me.
I feel like some people can pull it off
That's
and
not
some
what I'm
cannot.
asking you. I'm asking you if you are okay with this.
I'm 50-50 on it. I'm 50-50.
I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say.
Sorry. Men's rompers, I'm also no. That's a no-go. The only thing I would find at least a little acceptable would be the merce, and I say it
Oh, I
with.
thought you were going to give me give an addendum to the romper.
No. The only thing I would, in that, like I said, I'm 50-50 on it is the merce.
So you're telling me, if someone buys you a merce, you're going to wear it.
I'm not. I don't think I can pull it off.
Yeah. I have nothing else to say. This is very important. I don't know what else to say. Fanny packs are okay in my book if you're at a theme park or in some kind of place. Maybe you're a tourist. I understand. I'm just telling you right now. That is when we're talking about a merce, even the name itself. You want to wear something called a merce, a man purse. That's what it's called. They're getting rid of the P and putting an M and thinking it's okay. So call it what it is. All right. Moving on. Indiana Jones satchels, I'm fine with them. Leather satchel. Messenger bag, I'm okay with them. I think
a
they're
beautiful
cool.
thing. Might be the best episode of all time.
Okay.
This is great.
All right, so moving forward to things that don't disgust us, or me, back to more serious.
Okay.
How do you convince someone who is bitter toward life to go to church with you without trying to hog tie them and throw them in the trunk? What do I say to them? Well, it sounds like they're wanting someone to go to church with them.
Yeah, they're just...
Now, what's interesting, they said bitter toward life.
Yeah.
And then they said, what do I say to them to kind of motivate them to go to church?
Mm-hmm. So it sounds
We
like...
don't have a lot of details. So.
No. It sounds like they're very adamant about not trying to feel like they're shoving it down their throat, essentially.
Like they want to get them to go, but they feel like the only way they can is if they threw them in a trunk. Do you have any words that would maybe help them?
Well, first off, I just want to encourage you. It's cool that you're trying to invite people.
Sure, yeah, that's good.
So that's a good way to start this. Another thing is to remember that you're only in control of yourself. That's another thing.
Yeah.
You cannot force people to do things, even if it's something as important as going to church. You can't force that on people. Your job is to plant the seed. Let them know that that option is there. And then after that, all you can do is love them. And hopefully through that love, they will realize, like, hey, this is special. Let's go to this place that they're talking about. You don't have to.
I think that's really good, man.
Yeah, I think consistency, like I wouldn't worry about having to ask them every week, because if that's what you're doing, maybe that's it. It's annoying them or something. But if you've offered, there it is. That's the seed that's been planted, and then in order to try to water that seed, you just show them love like Jesus.
Yeah, and I'm going to assume, for the sake of this, for me, I agree 100%. I want to that this person isn't a Christian, and I want to point out, and I think sometimes we can get confused on this. It's good to invite people to church that aren't Christians because they get to see the community and stuff too. But remember, the church won't save them. Jesus saves them.
That's right.
And you can tell them about Jesus without them being at church.
That's so
and
good,
so maybe they're not willing to go to church, then bring church to them, right? Tell them, because you are a living stone, the Bible says. The Holy Spirit's in you, so tell them and show them with your life and your words who Jesus is and how he, can help heal that bitterness. The other thing I was thinking about is if they look at your life and they see you on a daily basis, it sounds like this is someone close to them. What do they see? Do they see someone that is bitter? Do they see someone that's miserable? Because the question is, why would I want to go there? Yeah,
exactly.
And maybe it's not you, but that's one of the things, because it goes back to controlling me. If I'm in that situation, I'm like, well, is my life even something they would want? Like,
right. What am I putting out to them?
Yeah.
That's
but the other thing to remember is, like, you're called to tell people about. Don't just put that on the church. You are the church. You tell them about Jesus too in your life. And like we talked about, I like the way that's really translated in the end of Matthew when the Great Commission. He says, "As you go, as you go about your life, tell people about Jesus and show them who He is." And so but be encouraged. I agree with him. I think it's really cool. It shows your heart that even when someone's bitter and upset, you want to still get them there because you know that at the church they're worshiping. And the only person that can really heal that bitterness. And
that's so good.
That's good. If they are a Christian, a little different. But same thing, of just trying to dig into that. Why? What is it about? A lot of times what I like to say to people too is saying, think about this. Why are you so against going? Because sometimes that's proof. Like, I'll go if a buddy asks, if you ask them to go anywhere else and they would say yes, sometimes a deep question can be, why is it that you would go anywhere else with me but you won't go to church? That makes them think and go,
absolutely.
Because sometimes that's proof, man, that there's something deep spiritual going on there. Anyway.
That's good.
Yeah. I think, you're up.
Okay. Oh, let's see. Excuse me. Next question. I have a lot of problems, legal and physical. I accepted Jesus. I thought He would take care of all my problems and they would go away. That's so this isn't necessarily, I guess, a question, but it's just more like a
hurt.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of problems, legal, physical.
I accepted Jesus.
And I thought that He would take care of all my problems and they would go away. It kind of depends on what you mean by taking care of. One of the things that, well, first of all, let me tell you, I don't want to sit here and say, hey, if you just pray more, your physical things will go away, or, it's something on you, because the truth is, I've been there, and with all these issues, and you kind of wonder, where is God in the midst of it? Something you got to keep in mind, and one of the reasons I love Jesus is He doesn't lie to us. And He says, in this life you will have many trials and tribulations, but fear not, I have overcome the world. He doesn't promise to take care of your problems by preventing them. He promises that in the midst of this brokenness of this world, and as He's changing us and preparing us, and that He will get us through it. And that He will enable us to get through those tough times. And
so good.
Yeah, and sometimes that's hard to remember because we don't, when you're hurting, you want it to go away, and you start to go, God, why would you let this happen? And remember, God doesn't make that stuff happen. This is a sinful world and brokenness. And, again, we've talked about this so many times. The end of Revelation shows me the heart of God so much. When God says, I will wipe away every tear, for there will be no more crying or pain or death anymore, for the old things have passed away. Behold, the new. Like, This what he wants for us is to change us into more like him on this earth, and for us to be a light. And then someday he's going to fix it all. So just be encouraged that he's still there.
That's right.
That he will answer your prayers. That he hasn't forgotten you. That he will get you through it. And I will share this. He even said legal stuff. I remember I didn't have anything huge, but it was a license thing when I was like younger, and I was in an accident when I was 16. It's just weird. And I'm telling you, I watched God, and it didn't happen when I wanted it to, but I think it prepared me, and I've seen miracles happen, and I've seen stuff happen, and you just have to believe that and cling to that. And the faith is knowing that God can and move in your life and change those circumstances, but even if he doesn't, that he will enable you and empower you to get through those circumstances.
That's right. You gotta get, and that's the key difference, man. Like there will be no full, like nothing, like not everything's just gonna dissolve away, but like you said, he's gonna get you through it.
If it doesn't,
And that makes me think, and you said this one time, and it's always stuck with me. I always remember it, which is, following Jesus. It doesn't make life easier; it makes it better.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
It doesn't necessarily mean all those things are gonna go away. Like you said, he's gonna get you through it. So.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry. I don't know who you are, but we'll pray for you because God knows who you are. So hang in there. And if you hear this and you're still struggling, shoot us another message. We'd love to, step beside you in any way we can and help you and walk it out with you. So
absolutely.
All right. This is an interesting question. So we may have to mess with it a little bit. It says, in your experience with your relationship with God, when you're trying to follow his path for your life and not your path, what does that look like for you? So sort of like, can you tell a difference between when you're sort of following what you feel like he wants you to do versus what you want to do sometimes, and are they different sometimes?
Yeah.
That's
I had a smile come across my face because I immediately it hit me. The things I specifically do don't necessarily change, but the outcome of how I feel does. So for example, I love music. If I'm selfishly trying to portray music, it tends to feel more empty. But if I do it for God, I just it feels better. I can actually feel a difference in me. I can't explain it. It's just different. Or let's say even serving, doing this. If a good example I have is when we did our Reignite Week, when we went out and we called it Remnant Rush, where we went out and we just kind of served the community. If I could have easily went into that selfishly going, I'm going to feel good about myself because I'm helping people by giving people money. But instead I admitted this, I am a words of affirmation person. God knows that. He knows me better than myself. So if I go into something thinking, I'm doing this for me, even though it doesn't look like I am, if I do that, it still feels empty. I still feel bad about myself. Even though in that moment I may feel good when I go to sleep, when I go to lay there, I go, man, I still suck. But during that time, I didn't even think about me. Not once, which is weird. It was one of those supernatural things where I just knew that this was for God, and I knew that was my purpose at that moment was, this is not about AJ. This is about the kingdom. This is about showing people God's love. And man, had a moment where gave this lady some money, and she started breaking down, crying. She gave me a hug, and then once again I was like, that was amazing. I thought that was enough. And then, like I said, God knows I'm a words of affirmation person. This lady somehow finds our website, puts in a submission, which takes a lot of work. She couldn't just submit something. She had to do an email, all these things, and she decided to go through with it. And she just typed up this thing about the experience she had with me, and it was just man, there it was. He gave it to me.
Even though you didn't do it for that reason.
That's right. He still said, it's one of those moments where he was just well done. Here you go. This is what you need.
It's powerful.
And that's what I mean. I didn't necessarily do anything differently from what I normally do, but that was the perspective in my head.
It's good, man.
So,
it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think again, it's going to sound so weird. People think we just talk all the time. I think it's the Holy Spirit. We do talk a lot. But I think I just told you this the other day where the church has been around. This is going on 6 years. And I worked another job the whole time up until a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I remember I was kind of I didn't tell anyone this. It's kind of confession. So I went to work for a financial institution, And in my mind, I was slowly like gonna pull away. Like I was gonna kind of do my job here while I was building this career, and I was like tired of like being looked down on in my own mind by people and peers, and I wanted to prove to the world and to myself and everyone else, like, listen, I can be successful as anybody else by the standards that the world often goes by, finances and nice things and position. And I pursued that, dude, and I succeeded at it. I did. And I was making more money than I ever did, and I was so sad.
It was empty still.
Yeah, man, I was, and I didn't even know why, because it was good people. And I'm not saying that working at Finish Solutions is bad. I just knew at that point, and maybe I will someday go, maybe I'll go back there. Who knows? But I know at that moment that wasn't the path that God wanted for me.
Yeah.
But I kept going, and the crazy thing is, He let me and used it until I finally came to a place of like, I know what I need to do, and I need to. And it was crazy because as soon as I fully committed and went the way He wanted, then again He was like, okay, I'm going to take care of you. Because in my mind, I'm like, how am I going to survive? How am I going to? He's like, here, I'm going to take care of you. So yeah, man, I think a lot of times when you're doing your own thing, it doesn't even matter if everyone else thinks that on the outside it looks good and right and fulfilling. Inside your heart, you're going, something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't seem right, and So I think that's part of it, and it goes back to what you said, and again, that can change. Sometimes we're on a certain path for a certain amount of time to get prepared and to grow. Because remember, the end result is God wants to change us into looking more like His Son. That's what it is, and to be a light and to love other people and to be His reflection on this earth. So whatever gets us there.
Man.
Anyway, good stuff today.
Yeah.
I think we're at the end of this episode. We've done a lot of good questions. I know we got a lot more coming in the next couple of weeks. Thank you guys so much for your willingness to just open your hearts and your lives to us and allow us to be a part of what you're going through. And in doing that, you minister to anyone else who watches this. So you're a part of this ministry. Even if you're not here at this table with us, in a way you are, because your questions, you're sitting here with us having this discussion, which blesses other people. So thank you for that. You have anything to say?
Just thank you guys. We're all the way on to episode 20, which is so crazy. Like, I can't believe it's been going this long. It's been a crazy road that's had its ups and downs, but man, like, it's so worth it in the end because we've gotten to touch so many people, and people have gotten to touch us and just encourage us. And man, like, God works in so many ways, and He, we've been lucky enough that He's been faithful to us in this, in this whole process. So just thank you guys for being along for the ride and just the continued support. I really appreciate it. So I love you guys. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Just a quick reminder, we're the Remnant Church in Columbia City, Indiana. We have service on Sunday evenings, actually, from 6 to 7:15, 7:30. We have a free meal from 5 to 6, which is community time to hang out. Come hang out with us. If you have not liked and followed our Facebook page, which I found something else out. If you're not seeing our posts, you got to go to the site, hit like, I think it's follow, and then also click the thing that says see first. Interesting. And if you click that, all our posts will always pop up so you can see them. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, Facebook's tricky. It is. Click see first. If you haven't done that and you've liked the page and you're like, well, hey, I'm not getting a lot, go check that out. Please like and share this if it blessed you in any way. Write some comments down here. We do see those, and we appreciate them. We interact with them the best we can. Yes, we do. If you have any questions that you have, and you don't feel comfortable writing them in the comments below, you can click the link above, like I said, and fill out a question that goes anonymously. We really don't know who it is. Nope. Other than that, we will be going live for Facebook Live. Real Talk Live this Thursday is 8:30 or 9. We'll let you know. Yep. We'd love to see you come hang out with us live, and we'll do crazy things. I know that they have already told me that there's a horrible taste testing coming, so I'm nervous about that. But we appreciate you guys so much. We hope you have a great day, and God bless you.